Hello guys, welcome to our class of number 12, and on today's class we are going to start actually making our score appear to the player. Because right now we have, let me go right here on the player manage, we have a score, but we have one problem with that score. One of them, it's because it's not showing up for the player right here. We are counting the score, but it's not showing up in the game. So let's say that we play this game on maximize it. We will have something like this. So it's impossible for us to know how much score we actually scored because it does not show right here. We are going to make this happen using a part of Unity called user interface. So the user interface, or UI, inside of Unity is a component. Actually, it's more than a component. It's a part of Unity that handles this part of information. A user interface part is information that is important for the player, but that it's not actually in the game. So for example, score. The score is not a part of the map, but it still needs to appear for the player. So the score text right here in this case will be a user interface, because it's not actually in the game, like it's not part of the map, doesn't exist in the reality, but it's an information that the player needs to know. Another example of user interface are menus, so like game over menus and start gaming menus. There are also other examples of user interface that we can use. Alright, so in order to have a user interface, the first thing that you need to do is to go to Game Object, UI, that stands for User Interface, and then you have a lot of different options right here. The one that we want to create, it's a text. So I'm going to click to text. You can see that the user interface is actually, the text is inside something called canvas. So canvas is the place that actually we're going to put every single item of our user interface. So if you need to create a user interface part, you can do in two different ways. Or you go to game object, like I did right here, and create another text. I'm not going to need this one, I'm going to delete. Or you can go to canvas, right click on the mouse, and then UI, and then put text again. So we have these two different ways of doing actually text. So let's take a look on how Canvas looks inside of Inspector. So clicking on Canvas, we have this list inside of Inspector, and it's a little bit different. You see that it doesn't actually have transform. This canvas not have transform because it's not in the game actually. You have kind of a separated dimension inside the game. So it's separated the way of the position and all the other stuff. So you have actually transform, but it's a rect transform. We have the canvas scaler, and the gray raycaster. You don't need to change anything right here, but I'm sorry. Let's say that you want to change the size of the canvas depending on the screen that you are playing. So you can go here to UI scale mode. It's constant pixel size, so it's not gonna change. So if I go right here and change, you see that it's constant, it's not actually changing. Or I can go right here and select scale with screen size. And then when I change, it scales with the screen size. This one is better if you're aiming to make a game or any kind of software to more than one device that may have a different kind of resolution. It gets a reference resolution right here that you can use. So 800 by 16. You can actually choose other types, but just keep in mind that you can make it. I'm gonna set this as constant pixel size just because I'm not gonna make this game for a diverse different resolutions, but just be aware that you can. Alright, so that's our canvas inspector. If I double click the canvas, you see that it's not in the game. So just one more, I'm gonna click the player. That's the player. And I'm gonna click the canvas. So that's the canvas. you see that the canvas have this kind of a wide square, and that actually represents the screen of the player. So it's a little bit different. The game, it's right here. And then you may think, when you look, let's search for it. When you look right here, like new text, wow, that's huge. It should be huge in the game. But that's not, because actually the screening that the canvas takes part is that screen. So it's actually pretty small. So this represents the screen of the player. And you can see that exactly right there. So this is the text, this is the game, and this is the canvas side. All right. So here on Canvas, we can add a lot of different things based on user interface. Today, we're going to add text, but in the future, when we start making like game over menus and start game menus, then we are going to put more information in this canvas. We're going to use more resources of this canvas. This text right here, it says new text right now, but we can change this. So what I'm going to do right here with the text, I'm going to select text and take a look on the inspector. So in the inspector, we have some different components as well. So we have rect transform. This is the transform for UI, so almost the same thing as a transform for a game object, but this one is for a canvas object. So here we have the position, we have the size, we have the rotation, the scale of a text, and the anchor point. That's one that I'm going to talk later. We have also the canvas renderer that makes actually the canvas show up, and the one that is important for us right now, it's the canvas text. So the text is actually what's appearing right here. You can see that I can change to anything, right? Anything. And it's gonna appear right here. So you can change the text right here. You can change the font. So if you download a different font and you want to use it, you can drag and drop into here or try to search it with the circle. You can change the font style from normal, bold, and italic. So you can see that difference right there. The font size, the line spacing, the alignment of the text, you can see, and a lot of other different things, even the color. All right, so we are going to be changing this. You can change it in any way you want, but just try to keep in mind that this is going to be a score. So it's not gonna be very, it's not gonna be very cool if, like, for example, the text is the same color as the background. You can see it's not appearing right here because it's the same one. So just be careful about making the text actually show up to the player, because that's the main goal of this. All right, so let's talk a little bit of the position of the text. So this position right here, X, Y, and Z, they are not the global position that we have in a game object. They are a little bit different. So this position right here, they are a distance from a reference that we have. The reference that we have is the anchor point. And right now, if you click right here in the square, you can see that the anchor point is actually in the middle of the screen. So it means that if I put 0 and 0 and 0 in the position, it's not going to be in here. It's actually going to be in the middle of the screen, because the distance between the anchor point that is in the middle and the text is going to be 0. Right now it does not seem that is in the middle, just because the text is not in the middle of the text box due to the alignment. So you can change that too. So I'm going to open text, alignment, middle, and then we have exactly in the middle of the text box, and actually the text box is in the middle of the anchor point, so it does not have any difference. You can make the score to be anywhere. It's not like a rule to be in somewhere specific. To be really honest with you guys, I like to put it on top of the screen. I think it works better, so I'm gonna put it there. So basically I'm gonna change the anchor point to the top, 0, 0. You see, it's actually in the top, but I'm gonna make it go a little bit down. So maybe I'm gonna put like -20 or -30, something like this. Maybe negative 30 works better. And then the text will be something like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like this. So just to be a little bit better, what I'm going to be doing is actually I'm going to make the text looks bigger. So I'm gonna increase the font size. So I'm increasing the font size. And you can see that at some point like 23 to 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, you see that in 28 my text actually disappears. That's because the text is too big for the text box. So it's pretty easy to make it come back. You just need to make the text box bigger, right? So just make the text box bigger and our number is gonna be there. Okay, so just be careful. Position X is going to be 0, so it's actually alignment. And then I'm gonna make the color a little bit different from the background, something like this. Don't want actually to be that different. Alright, so yeah, we have our score right now. If we play the game, what is going to happen? Nothing. Just because we need to say to Unity that this number needs to be updated when we play the game. So that's one thing that we're going to be doing next. Just before we do it, let's pick the name of this game object, rename to score text. Alright, it's gonna be easier because we're gonna have more text in the future, and then it's gonna be cool to actually keep track of them so we don't get confused by them. Alright, so let's open the script and start developing this part to make every time that we actually have a score to update the text to the new score so it keeps updated. So let's open the script. The script that I'm going to be using right now is going to be the player manager. Because if you look at the player manager already have the score variable. So we already have the information of the score. We just need to tell Unity to put that information into this text. So it's going to be very wise to actually use the same class. So I'm gonna open this class. Alright. So I have player manager right here. You should have player manager exactly the way that I have. So in order to start actually developing and changing any kind of UI, we need to add a new library to Unity. Okay, so that sounds actually not Unity, to the script. That sounds a little bit confusing, but it's very easy to do. So remember when I said in the first class that these libraries right here, they are meant to actually tell this class what it can do, like it's helping the script to actually know the right words and what those words means. We're going to do the same thing right now, but we need to add a new library, a library of UI. So it's very easy to edit. I'm just gonna jump. It needs to be before class. It needs to be with the using, and just type exactly what I type right now. So it's going to be the same unit engine, but we're going to add a .ui. So make sure that right now we can use any kind of information based on the user interface of the player. Alright, so we have already the score. We just need to add a new variable to save the text. Remember that the text is a canvas text. So it's going to be the text of the score. And the score is an integer, a variable that saves the number. So we're going to have two different variables. One is saving the number, is an integer, and the other one is saving a text. You may think that we are going to use a string, but I'm not going to use a string. I'm going to use the text. A text is a kind of variable made from canvas that we can use because we add this library right here that represents a canvas text. So it's very useful for us, and in order to link a canvas text to the script, we need to have a variable type text. So let's create this variable. You see that I just make like an underscore right here with text just not to be the same. It can't be the same. And then the type is text with capital T. And it's also public because I'm going to link this variable with the text that we have inside of the canvas. Alright, so we have the text right now. What we need to do first is actually on start, I need to say that the text of this text is actually 0. And this text of the text is a little bit confusing, right? It's a type string. So basically what I will type is like this. That's the canvas text. And that's the text from the canvas. So maybe it's a little bit confusing, but I'm going to show on Unity. I think it's going to be easier. All right, so basically this text right here, the canvas text is, okay, wait, Unity to load this. This text is this game object right here, score text. All right, the text of the text is this guy over here. So this is the text of the score text. So this is the game object, and this is actually the variable string. So this is what we are actually changing. And you see that if I change right here, it changes on the game. So that's what we want to do through script. So at the beginning, what I'm going to be making is actually say that the text of the game object canvas text is going to be equal to 0, because that makes sense. Every time that you start a new game, it needs to be equal to 0. But then I need to update it to a number. I'm going to, and we actually can't say that score text.text is equal to score, because this is an integer and this is a string, so we can blend them. They don't work together. So we need to transform a integer number into a string, and that's very, very easy to do. The only thing that you need to do is add a integer number to a string, and it automatically transforms into a string. So here, when we actually add a new score, I'm going to say that score text is equal to a empty string, it's empty but still a string, plus score. So basically what I'm doing right here, I am transforming this variable integer in a string type just by summing up a empty string. That's very clever, and that's how we actually transform any kind of number in strings, so we can use them. And I'm saying that the text of the text canvas game object, it's equal to that. All right. Why don't you make this on update, you may ask? Just because the update happens actually 60 times per second. So if I make it every single frame, it may be a little bit maybe hard for the computer to run. So it's just doing math, useless math, because it doesn't change. So basically what I'm doing, I'm just changing the text when actually we change the score. So when we change the score, we change the text of the user interface. So we do way less interactions with the text, and it's better for the computer. So I'm gonna save this. To complete the game and actually to test it right now, one thing that we need to do is go to the player manager, and we have score text right here. We can add this variable. We need to link this to our score text. We can do it in different ways. Two different ways. We can drag and drop into right here. Or if you want, you can click right here in the circle and then select the option score text. Or the only one actually that exists right now. It's gonna exist more in the future. Alright, so if we play the game right now, we will have something like this. You see that it's actually updated every single time that we pass through the pipes. And let me play on maximize it. Alright, so yeah, basically you can make the text anywhere you want. If you want in the middle of the screen, if you want in the corners, if you want it pretty big or pretty small, it's your choice. You can also, remember, change the font of this is Arial, so you can change to any font you want, of course. You need to try to find them in some website, something like this. Just import as any other kind of image and then use a different font. And that's it. Play around with this, have fun, make your score a little bit different. We are going to continue to study user interface in the further classes. We are going to make our game over and start game using them. So we are going to see way more of user interface from this to the next classes. Alright, so play around with this, have fun, and see you in the next class. Bye bye.